So previously I did a video on reasons why I think the sneaker market is dying. So this is just going to be some counterpoints to that and basically how we can correct the market. Obviously you can look at the reasons that I already mentioned: too many, too often, too much, and just reverse it. Don't create as many, don't create them as often, and don't charge as much money. But that in a nutshell is what this video is going to be about. And hopefully you guys can weigh in the comment section and add to the conversation as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. One thing that I want to make note of from the beginning is we understand there's societal reasons why creating limited products in a high demand environment is dangerous. We've seen it in the 90s and we've seen it in every generation, in fact, of limited sneakers where people are losing their lives over their limited sneakers because people are robbing them and stealing them and shooting them and stabbing them and everything else in between, because we have the haves and we have the have-nots. So while there's one perception that says you have to have limited products in order to be relevant and cool, and then there's the other that says now it's just watered down, there's too many releases and now nobody wants anything, there's that like in-between line where you can deliver and have some sort of demand on something and have enough sell-through where the companies are happy and they're profitable and making their shareholders happy and everything else. And you can do it in a responsible way where people are not at risk of losing their lives. So I wanted to throw that disclaimer out from the beginning. So how do we bounce back from the sneaker recession and have products start selling again and not sitting as much as they are, having the brands happy because products going through, and having the consumers happy because they're bringing the correct products that they're wanting? Let's start off with the number 3 spot on my list, and that is to stop the sneaker ODing. We don't want to OD on sneakers every single week with multiple releases. We don't need 500,000 colorways of just one model. From a consumer perspective, you don't want to buy a pair of retros that you've been waiting on for 20 years to retro, 10 years, 5 years to retro. They finally dropped the shoe that you've been waiting for them to drop, and then you get it, and then it's like, sweet, you've got the one that you wanted, you got the colorway you wanted, and then they drop another colorway and another colorway and another. And then all of a sudden you have so many colorways of the shoe. And by the way, the leather quality was terrible on them. And then they have colors with no stories or just half-baked stories that really make no sense. And next thing you know, the shoes that you coveted and you waited 5, 10 years for them, 20 years for them to retro and bring back, they kind of made a mockery of that in a sense. They kind of mass-produced it and made it into something that it shouldn't be. My tip is to basically stop the sneaker OD and don't mass produce something to the point where it waters down the coveted experience that somebody gets, where they get their grail finally after many years, and then just throw a bunch of crap at us. I guess in a sense it sort of jades the consumer, because we're buying a pair of shoes that we have nostalgic value to that cost $200, and then they go on the outlets for $50. And then the average sneakerhead doesn't know that that was a grail to you. They see you wearing the shoes and they think that you just got $50 outlet shoes on, when it's a shoe that you really coveted back in the day. But let me throw this out there. You shouldn't give a crap about what other people think about what you're wearing, or the fact that they view that shoe as something that is a discounted shoe, or, you know what I mean? That doesn't really even matter. It shouldn't matter. And I know that it probably does matter to some people. At the end of the day, though, if they water down the product so much and release so many different colorways and so much of that product, it makes it so it feels like achieving that grail is like not as fulfilling, I guess. And that's something that they need to learn how to capitalize on and make their money on, but not overdo it. One suggestion that I think can make a big difference, and I think that a lot of companies are doing this to some extent now. We actually saw some of this recently with like the undefeated Air Max 97 release, and the idea is obviously releasing one colorway that's limited, that is for those people that care about that limited release, and then you have a massive GR colorway that goes to a lot more stores. So you have one that's more desirable amongst the hype collectors, and then you have one that is like more for the mainstream sort of people that want to just own that shoe or whatever is coming out. And that's one way that they can do things, just tailoring one off sort of limited stuff or more limited, and then making more of a general release. So you kind of hit both markets in a sense, and you don't leave it so ultra limited that people feel like they can't even obtain it. Another tip that I would have to say would be beneficial to companies and consumers both is by removing the replica market, or trying to narrow down that replica market the best that they can. I don't know how they can authenticate their products in a way where we know that what we're buying is actually legit or not. But I wouldn't go to SneakerCon and just buy from random people and expect you're going to get something for a really, really good price that's going to be authentic. Like, you just got to be careful with what you're buying out there. It's just not really safe out there to be buying stuff because replicas have gotten so good that they're so close to the real thing. And unless you don't care that you're buying what you're buying, that's on you. That's totally fine. If you're buying something that you think is authentic and it's actually a replica, that's problematic. That's not good at all. It's definitely got to be taking away money out of Nike, Adidas, and Jordan brand. And so that's something that they need to like get better control over somehow, some way, so that they can control that market a little bit better. I know that's not really realistic at this day and age, but it'd be something that we need international guidelines. So the number 2 thing that I wanted to mention, a way that we can come back from this sneaker bubble, is if the brands would actually listen to the consumers. It's something that doesn't happen enough. And I think that that is kind of a downside to the fact that this is a two-way street. Somebody makes a product, somebody consumes it. The person that consumes the product has feedback for the people that are creating it. They're not really listening. So we as content creators and you as consumers that post on social media and tag the companies that never reply back to us, like ultimately we have a voice that is not really being heard on the other end. And it's not a dynamic conversation where we have some feedback, we talk to the brand recognizes that we've had that feedback and has counter questions to what we've asked questions about. Like, we don't have that type of conversations, or at least I don't. Hopefully there's some content creators out there that do, but ultimately I think that that is a big miss if they are not reaching out directly to the content creators as well as the consumers, more importantly, just the general consumers, and letting them be able to give feedback directly. And hopefully it's something that we'll see more of in the future. So one example that I mean by this of listening to the consumer is, like, I've done detailed reviews of these. I know that these are racing running shoes or whatever you want to call them. I know that these are geared not towards somebody like myself, but I'm a lifestyle dude and I want to try Zoom X, and I want Zoom X to be integrated into lifestyle instead of doing like one-off super mega elitist athlete sort of products that have the most innovative technology that can't be consumed by a general consumer. So moving on, the number 1 thing that I think that we can do to bounce back from this sneaker bubble is to have these brands innovate for us. Now, we've already talked about something like this with the innovation of Zoom X, but I think we just need to see more innovation. I think that we need to stop relying on old colorways of legacy items reinvented over and over again, such as the Flyknit versions of the Air Max 90s, Flyknit versions of Air Max 1s, and the OG colorways. It's like they're relying on the OG colorways of those to sell their new technologies. We need the technology to sell itself in a sense, and it needs to be innovated enough where it's something that people are wanting to consume. And I get what they're doing a lot of times because they're trying to hold on to some of the nostalgic purpose of some of these shoes with the most popular models out there and reimagine those with the Air Force One Ultras, with the Flyknit versions of the Air Jordan 1s, with the Flyknit versions of everything, and the Ultra versions of everything, I guess, in a sense. All of those reimaginations of already archaic technology and trying to bring it in the modern era, I think that's great. I think that it's good, and we've seen that over and over and over again to a point where they've done it too many times. And now is the point where they need to innovate something new and create something new that doesn't hold on to nostalgia. It's creating new nostalgia because you're making something dope, and something 20 years from now, they can look back on and go, that model that we made back in 2017, the demand's back again. We need to start making those ones again. So we haven't seen too much of that. I'm not saying companies like Nike are not innovating. We have Vapor Max of this last year. We have the Zoom X from this last year. But again, both of these are heavily geared towards performance only and not lifestyle. So listen to your lifestyle consumers out there. Innovate for us. That's just my 2 cents though. I don't know what you guys think about this video. Leave some comments and let me know. The other major point that I just wanted to bring up that really is not something we can control, the concept of a company needing to be profitable every single quarter and showing profits of X and Y and Z growth. Companies are mass producing stuff and creating more and doing it now for the short-term gain because they want those stock prices to stay relevant, and they don't want them to dip because they have their shareholders that they need to appease. But that's one of the main reasons why we're oversaturated, because they're trying to keep up with some sort of curve and create enough revenue that it can keep everybody happy. It would be crazy if a company could be like, yeah, we made $30 billion last year. I think that's good. Let's try to aim for 30 billion again this year. Let's not go for 35 billion or whatever. Like, to sum it up, there's a fine line between growth and greed. If you become too greedy, then it ends up being something that is mass produced and then not desirable, and then the greed got the best of you. Anyways, that's all we have for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That is a lot of random thoughts kind of crammed together in a video, but hopefully you guys were kind of following me a little bit. And as I mentioned before, I think that it's actually a really good thing that these companies are struggling, I guess, in a sense, because ultimately the consumer ends up winning and we get the products at a discount from outlets or on sale. There's rumors, obviously, of Jordan Brand limiting products in 2018. I'm not really concerned about that. Limiting products to them, I don't know even what that even means. So we'll see it. I'm doubtful that they're gonna really make it limited based on what we've seen in the past and the sheer volume that Jordan Brand can actually produce and release, as we've seen week after week after week with what they're dropping. But that's all we have. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the content, hit that like button, and thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and check the other videos on the screen at this time. Just click the video if you guys want to watch them. Have a good one. Peace, guys.